Hello again, welcome back to Cybersecurity in the Ancient World. We've come to episode number 7. When thinking of communication security systems, we often think of computer systems, banks, and secret services, like the FBI and CIA. Yet, did you know that the ancient Greeks and Romans knew everything about hiding secrets and securing confidential information too? In this series of 10 videos, we will discuss 10 examples of secret communication in the Greco-Roman world from the 8th century BCE to the 4th century CE. We will see the Spartans and Caesar going to war, but also cipher codes, invisible ink, love letters, and ultimately, someone who was carrying his own death sentence without knowing. When and why did the Greeks and Romans use secret communication? And what secrets did they hide from their enemies? We will see this and much more in this series. So welcome to Cybersecurity in the Ancient World. We have come to episode number 7, Roman fire signaling systems. In the 7th episode, we move on from ancient Greece to ancient Rome. In the last episode, we discussed Greek fire signaling. We are seeing the systems used by Aeneas Tacticus and Polybius. The Romans knew everything about sending secret and non-secret messages by means of fire signals too. This time, in this episode, we will not take a look at one or two specific sources, since we do not have one or two complete descriptions of Roman fire signaling systems. Instead, we will take a look at parts of original sources, but also archaeological remains and modern scholarship. Roman references to fire signaling systems include Caesar's Gallic War and Civil War, Cicero's Verrine Orations, Livy's History of Rome, Pliny the Elder's Natural History, Suetonius' Life of the Caesars, Vacatius' The Military Institutions of the Romans, and finally Virgil's Aeneid and Eclogues. Tactical signals have been employed by the Romans in battles since the time of the Republic, from about 509 to 27 BCE. Hereby, the Romans had access to earlier Greek and Carthaginian systems from Aeneas, Polybius, and Polyaenus. The signals were often used as part of the whole communication system. In 134 BCE, at Numancia, a city in Spain, the Roman general Scipio Aemilianus operated a combined system of relays, posts, messengers, and fire signals. During the day, signals by red flags replaced smoke signals, and seemed to have been a great improvement. Other sources report that the Romans used daylight signaling by means of smoke signals and night signaling by means of mirrors, fires, signal flags, semaphore, and military horns. Naval signaling was well known too, but there was always the chance of the enemy picking up your signals since they were nearby. Therefore, it is plausible that secret messages were sent by means of fire signals, and that the meaning of the messages was discussed between communicating parties beforehand. there was one documented case in Roman history in which a fire signal conveyed actual intelligence. The signal that announced the fall of Sejanus. Sejanus was a Roman soldier who lived from about 20 BCE to 31 CE. Originally, Sejanus had been a friend and confidant of the Roman Emperor Tiberius. Yet later, Sejanus betrayed Tiberius, and he was therefore condemned to death. The order to kill Sejanus was given when Tiberius was residing on Capri. Tiberius ordered to receive a message about the outcome of the mission as quickly as possible. According to Suetonius, Tiberius waited in his palace on a cliff top for the distant bonfire signals to come, announcing all possible eventualities, which he had ordered to be sent in case his couriers were delayed. So fire signals were the fastest way to convey messages in this case. Before Tiberius's couriers arrived with detailed information, Tiberius was already aware of the situation. In other words, the signal was for the emperor's private use and was also used as a backup system. Fire signals in wartime are noted in Roman military records. All references in these records are related to warfare. We cannot find any references to, say, commercial or diplomatic purposes. And interestingly, the meaning of the conveyed messages was quite often misunderstood by the recipient. This shows the importance of clear communication and making arrangements beforehand. The importance of clear communication can be shown by a few examples. In Caesar's The Civil War, we read about Caesar receiving word that his opponent Pompey had attacked the camp of Caesar's general Marcellinus. In this situation, it is clear that Pompey had attacked the camp. Yet, in another situation from Caesar's Gallic Wars, we see how Caesar's troops were summoned by fire signals according to previous orders. In this case, it is unclear whether the instructions only applied to one situation or more situations, and whether it applied to the whole army or only a part of them. This resulted in chaos. When the Republic became an empire and the empire expanded, fire signals were not just used in local wars. Instead, they were used to control the whole empire. The Romans started building watchtowers with signaling stations throughout the empire, and especially at the borders. These stations were so important and so common in use that they appeared on all sorts of objects. To give a few examples, we see the signaling stations on columns, but also columns, like here, scenes on the column of Trajan, and the column of Marcus Aurelius, both in Rome. Another suggestion by the German historian Sigorius about 1900 was that the Romans always had beacons prepared for action, with hayricks designed to produce smoke plumes by day and log piles beneath to produce lights at night. Another historian, Webster, went further and suggested that the beacons were part of semaphore systems. Semaphore is the use of the apparatus to create visual signals transmitted over a long distance. What did the Roman beacons look like? There are no archaeological excavated complete beacon sites, but we know a few things. We know from Trajan's column in Rome how around military camps piles of wood were constructed from recently felled trees, whose wood would still be green. Those trees would not have burned well, and the piles are depicted at ground level. So these were probably just wood piles used for a number of other purposes. We also knew about some sort of early lighthouses, as the one we see here. And about signaling stations at higher ground, where fires could be started at the top by means of raising torches or using fire baskets, as we see in this depiction. Fire baskets like this would make much more sense than piles underground, since the sides would have been more visible and therefore better to find. So, to summarize and conclude for today, last time we saw Aeneas Tacticus and Polybius' methods for fire signaling. Today we discussed Roman fire signals. From accounts of the Near East and Greek and later Roman history, starting in the Archaic period, we know that normal, that is, non-encrypted, and simple encoded or encrypted messages could be sent over long distances by means of fire signals, as discussed in a wide range of classical sources. In the early days of the Roman expansion, the fire signals were used in local wars. Tactical signals have been employed by the Romans in battle since the time of the early Republic. The Romans had access to earlier Greek and Carthaginian systems from Aeneas, Polybius, and Polyaenus. These signals were often used as part of larger communication systems. Later, when the Republic became an empire, signaling stations appeared throughout the empire to control everything and everyone. The Romans started to build watchtowers with signaling stations throughout the empire, especially at the borders. These stations were so important and so common in use that they appeared on all sorts of objects, from coins to columns. Signaling stations and watchtowers have been used throughout the ages and are still in use. Think of semaphores, for example, to send signals over long distance by means of flags, and telegraphy, the long-distance transmission of messages, whereby the sender uses symbolic codes known to the recipient rather than having a physical exchange of an object that is bearing a message. Semaphore can be used for telegraphy when arranged in visually connected networks, or say for traffic signals such as railway systems and traffic lights in our modern cities. The telegraph continued to be used commercially for about 100 years and is still used by amateur radio enthusiasts. And telecommunication evolved, replacing the electric telegraph with the advent of wireless telegraphy, but also teleprinters, telephones, radio, television, satellite, mobile phones, internet, and broadband. So we still see the principle of telegraphy in 21st century telecommunication. Thank you again for watching. What do you think of this episode? Do you want to know more about ancient fire signals? Or do you want to share anything else? Then please feel free to contact me for any comments, suggestions, etc. And do you want to know more about cybersecurity in ancient Greece and Rome? Then stay tuned for our next episode on the Caesar cipher. In the next episode, we take another look at Caesar's work, but then we will see how Caesar used a specific cipher. Thank you again for watching. Have a good day and see you next time. Goodbye.